Hi there, and welcome to the Neckpour. My name's Lewis, and welcome to the Whisky Review channel, where I give you my thoughts and opinions on a particular bottle of whisky from the Neckpour all the way down to the dregs. You join me here today for another part of the £17 Whisky Chronicles, where I take a bottle of £17 Bankhall Single Malt whisky, and I'm trying to make something out of it. And before you ask, I'm not absolutely manic in this video. I've just sped the process up so you guys can have a see what's going on. If you'd like to click up on the corner just here, see the previous parts of the video, then you'll know more what's going on. But yeah, this has been laid down for about 4 weeks at this point. With, as you saw at the start, there's figs, apricots, apples, sultanas, cinnamon, vanilla, all sorts of things in there. I'm just giving this a little taste. And at this point, it's really actually quite interesting. It's surprisingly almost got more alcoholic, because it was only 40% to begin with. And the alcohol is really coming through in a way that it wasn't in its original form, which was quite intriguing. But it was also rich and warming, sweet, mouth coating, and getting close to doing what I wanted it to do. I do think, however, I'd put a little bit too much citrus in here, as well as the figs. For me, as well, when I tried a couple of the figs afterwards, I wasn't 100% certain on the flavour of those. And there was almost, not an off note, but there was a couple of notes in there that I wasn't really happy with. And I thought those and the citrus being in there for quite so long were possibly contributing to that. I have a little taste of an apple there, a little chunk of apple, and it's really weird because it's really, really boozy, but yet with the texture of almost a dehydrated apple. And at this point, I was just giving everything a little squeeze to try and get as much whiskey out into the bowl below that we can, because I've decided that I need to almost, if it was a whiskey, re-rack it into another cask, but put it down with another infusion for a similar amount of time, I think, in order to try and really take this to the next level and get what I want out of it. Although it's certainly on its way, it's just not quite where I'd want it to be. As it's a little bit of an experiment, I was interested to see, even despite the couple of teaspoons I've taken out, I have actually gained a little bit of volume. It'd gone from 305 to 340 mils, which I also want to track so I can work out an idea of where the percentage is on this. And as you can see, it's really quite cloudy at this point. I think once it's done, I might put it through a coffee filter just to try and get clarity. And from the vanilla, there's quite a few vanilla seeds in there, which again, I'll want to take out of the final product, I think. But at this point, I'm just getting everything together. Decided to go with a fresh cinnamon stick. It wasn't super spicy. I've got an apple there. In fact, two different apples. I've got a kind of green apple, a really green sort of Granny Smith apple, and then a much sweeter, like Golden Delicious, I think it was, along with a pear. So I decided to go for all of them there. And always prepared. I can't find my peeler at this point, so I've decided to take all the peel off again, because I don't want to introduce any of those more bitter flavours from the peel. So I'm just getting myself a little bowl to peel these into. And initially I thought maybe I'd do half of each apple and half of the pear. In the end, I do actually decide to go for the whole thing though. And yeah, I just go ahead, get these sort of finely diced up, because the smaller they are, sort of the faster they're going to infuse, getting a bit more surface area. So we just speed through chopping all of these up. You can see I just wanted to make sure I wasn't overfilling it to give space for everything else. And yeah, just keep on peeling my way through these. And yeah, I'd say, I think as well as adding the fresh sort of stuff to this, I think part of the fact is just going to need a little bit more time. And some of that time might even be just sat in a bottle by itself at the end, just to kind of mellow together almost, in a sense. Because yeah, that's something with my infinity bottle I've learned, is that it's not just mixing the things together. There's also some level of giving it a bit of time, vatting, and sort of getting to know each other, the different flavours, that is really quite important. And again, with the pear and the apples, I'm being pretty careful to make sure I don't get any core, any seeds, anything like that in there, because it's just, again, trying to minimize any sort of off flavors when I'm not particularly precious about this. You know, I have put a fair bit of time and thought into this, and it's, you know, wanting to be somewhat sensible and trying to make good decisions with what I put in there. Again, the same with all the fruit. I've made sure that nothing has got any preservatives in it, nothing's got any added sugar, nothing's got any added oil, because that seems to be fairly common. And again, giving everything a bit of a wash beforehand. And yeah, you can see after putting everything in there, I've still seen I've got quite a bit of space. So I'm chopping up the remainder of the pear and the rest of the other 2 apples as well, just to kind of really boost that sort of orchard fruit flavour, which is, you know, kind of there already in the whiskey. Just trying to really bring that out, and making sure that the apples and the pears, which are quite a large percentage of the volume of what I'm adding at this time, they're not super sweet either, because I don't want it to become too syrupy. I just want it to be nice and rich and balanced. Then on top of that, I'm just going over to the sink now and picking up all the other bits, giving this a little push down just to see sort of where we are in terms of space and room in there. And I don't know why I've left it on the scales at this point, because I wasn't weighing anything. It was just, maybe I just found it easier to move. But yeah, I've got my extra apricots and extra sultanas that I've washed again, just to make sure there's nothing on the outside of them, and making sure to give them a nice chop up. Again, not a super huge amount. I think I just did 5 of the apricots, or 6 or 7. Not entirely sure what the final number was here. And just plonk them in there, and then a handful of raisins as well. And I also made sure that I gave the raisins a chop as well, just to make sure that all of the insides of them could be really accessed by the whiskey and were really infused. And then I also go and get the vanilla pod, but I used the same one that was in the original resting of this and the initial infusing of this, because it's pretty strong flavour of the natural vanilla pods, and I don't want to completely overwhelm it with that. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just chopping those sultanas up there quickly. But yeah, that's about it for this one. It was very interesting to taste, and I'm not 100% certain that I've improved on the original whiskey at this point. I do think with a bit more time, I think it is going to get better, that's for sure. And yeah, I'd be really interested to see what you guys think of this. If any of you guys have done anything similar yourselves, please do let me know. But if you enjoyed the content today, please drop me a like, drop me a comment if you've got any thoughts on this. Please do hit subscribe and the notification bell to be notified next time I post. But yeah, other than that, here's what we've made. And I'd say cheers, Salancha, and I'll see you again.